Hi, everybody. This is Kevin Purcell with the Theotek Podcast tonight, and we are here ready to talk about the Apple iPad Pro, the iPhone SE, iOS 3, some new Apple Watch bands, and not just about that, but maybe we'll touch a little bit about how that might affect you as a person who uses them for church life, ministry, and then just general usage. But before we do that, if unless you have your head in the sand or you live in the middle of nowhere and just woke up to watch this podcast, you know that over in Brussels, Belgium, there was a horrific terror attack. And of course, terrorists are cowards, and terrorists are cowards who think that they are being strong and powerful by doing such horrific things, and they will find out seconds after they explode their bombs strapped to their chest, if that's the way they do it, that they have an eternity in a terrible, horrible place called hell, where they deserve to be. Of course, all of us deserve to be there, to be quite honest with you. But we just want to say to the folks of Brussels, Belgium, whether they'd be watching this or if anybody happens to know family or friends who live over there, our prayers are with you. And literally, we're going to say a prayer. Antoine, why don't you go ahead and lead a short prayer for the folks in Brussels as we begin our podcast tonight.
Sure. Lord God, we just come before you, thanking you, God, that every action that happens does not happen without your eyes looking towards that. You knew the situations that were going to happen, and you knew how governments would respond and how people would respond. And so, God, in you knowing those responses, we ask that you send your comforter to those families, those businesses, those folks, those airport personnel, God, who are all affected directly by this happening, God, to the men and women who have to clean up that mess and clean up bodies, God, and report back to families that folks didn't come home for lunch or dinner. God, we pray that you would just send your comforter to them. We pray, Father God, that the governments that now have decisions to make towards security and safety of other people in other areas, that you would turn their heart to not make haphazard decisions, that they would not restrict the wrong things, but they would empower all of us, God, to see your hand working through them to continue to keep terror at bay, to keep those who would enable terror at bay. These things we ask, God, because we understand your sovereignty over all things. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Those kinds of things make what we're going to talk about tonight seem, I don't know, minor and insignificant, but we'll try continue on anyway. As most of you probably know, if you're watching this, yesterday, Apple unearthed a brand new iPad Pro. First of all, I hate their naming. This is a different size. It's a different device slightly. I kind of wish that they would have given it maybe a different name, an iPad. I don't know what else they would have called it, but or maybe just call it iPad Air 3 with pencil or something. But it's going to be a struggle to figure out. When you say iPad Pro, you got to say iPad Pro 12.9 or iPad Pro 9.7.
And I think, Kevin, but I think the
like you do with the
differentiation
MacBooks,
is
though.
anything with pencil and their new smart connector is a pro.
Right.
Well,
The official
that makes-
name is the smaller iPad Pro.
Yeah, but what is it? Who would like to tell us what is the big difference with the iPad Pro 10-inch or 9.7-inch that they announced yesterday? There's Antoine holding his larger iPad Pro. I don't have mine handy close by, or I'd show it to
I've
you.
got mine.
So what's different about
A
it?
better screen.
Oh, I can put it out. The iPad Pro 9.7 has the same processor. It is underclocked a little bit deliberately, which makes sense because the battery is probably smaller. The iPad Pro 9.7-inch has a screen that is absolutely insane. When Lurs and I were at the same time, we both went, "Oh my gosh, they just dealt with eye strain headaches," because it automatically adapts to the ambient light in the room. That blew my mind. I mean, that was absolutely insane. And then it has pencil
The RAM
support.
of the big iPad Pro.
What's that?
Half the RAM of the big iPad Pro.
Well, that was
Only
my
2
next thing.
gigs.
It only has 2 gigs of RAM, so that's a little bit downside. And the Lightning connector is not capable of USB 3 speeds, whereas the 12 point in or 12 whatever inch Pro, it is capable of USB 3 speeds, which Rick is very excited about.
Yes.
And so those are the major differences. It has pencil support. It's the same pencil technology. But it also does it have 4 speakers? Is that what they said?
Yeah,
that's 4 speakers.
So that's pretty cool. The camera hump I hate.
If you've never heard the
it's
iPad
got the bigger
Pro
camera
speakers,
than on the Big Pro.
Yeah, if you've never heard the speakers on the iPad Pro, they are actually almost stunning for what you're getting. I mean, obviously nothing's going to be as good as your hi-fi stereo in your house or
for person viewing. Holy smokes!
But they sound great for a mobile device set of speakers, and so they're very loud. My wife, when I'm listening to stuff, that's loud. Of course, I'm deaf, so it doesn't seem that loud to me.
Easily the best sound system of any tablet.
Yeah, easily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm looking forward to get my hands on one and seeing it. It's so interesting with this one because there's so many trade-offs between the two. Usability, the Pro, the 12-inch one, the split screen on that is for productivity is like amazing because you have basically two 9.7-inch iPads side by side. And so for being able to multitask like that, that's nuts. But on the smaller one, that screen is like that screen has me drooling. And LaRosa, you want to explain why that actually will help with eye strain headaches?
Yeah, because basically what they're doing is they're making it work like a piece of paper does. So depending on like the light temperature of the room, a piece of paper mostly reflects what the light temperature is in the room, and the iPad is going to do the same thing. So if you're dealing with like a very fluorescent light, the iPad is going to do that. But if you're dealing with warmer lights that are more like yellowish in color, then the iPad is going to adjust accordingly so that the whites match that. So that it's not just blaring bright white at you all the time.
So your brain isn't always trying to adjust the colors when you look at the screen as opposed to the rest of the room. That's like really cool. Because that's what causes the eye strain headaches to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little dubious of that. I'll have to see it before I really believe that it's going to make that big a difference.
If it gives it the reflective nature, we'll see.
I'm not saying it does not because I haven't seen it obviously, but did anybody write about that in the press that were actually at the event? Did any of them say anything?
It's hard because they all had it in the one space. So it's
nobody's had it yet in hand, so they really don't. You got to wait till somebody reviews it at bedtime. That's really where you're going to hear the.
Or it goes under fluorescent lights, into incandescent lights, into LED lights, and see.
Yeah, that's what I think is. I'm not sure how really that's gonna. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and someone really needs to test it who deals with eye strain to see how well it works.
That's a good point. Somebody who has is significantly sensitive to that issue will need to.
Although, has anybody turned night shift on their devices yet?
Yeah, I've been running it.
What do you think?
I've been running it for a few weeks now, but it still looks weird to me, and I don't know. I don't know if it affects. Usually, by the time I go to sleep, I'm so tired anyway. I just go to sleep.
Yeah, it's so yellowish.
Yeah, it's very yellow.
It's really yellow. You actually have to turn the brightness up to unbalance how yellow it gets, which I think is a little off.
That is interesting.
Are tinted, so I actually see more yellow than I should.
Right.
And my lighting at home, I have the sunlight LED type bulbs, and so it's really interesting. The orangish yellow hue. It's a little bit more profound than I think I've seen on any of the Apple.
You can turn down the yellow.
Yeah, I turned mine down.
I turned mine down to about a third.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I also have tinted glasses, so it works in reverse on mine.
Yeah. So I turned mine down to about a third, and it amazed me how, as my eyes got acclimated to the light, the more we turned the lights off in the house, in the bedroom, how natural the screen looked. The brighter the room was, the more odd the screen looked.
And if you're just reading, like I tend to read books, in Kindle app or in accordance or whatever, before I go to bed. If you're doing it just for reading, I think it's fine because it's the yellowish is like a yellow page. It's not a big deal.
Right.
This is interesting. If you look on their website, those of us who remember the old days of Apple versus Microsoft, look at this right here.
Yeah.
Right? And for those who might be listening to this, we're looking at a page that's talking about iPad Pro plus Smart Keyboard plus Pencil plus
Microsoft
Pages or iWork. No, it says plus Microsoft Office with the little icon for the mobile Office Mobile. That's very interesting, and of course, it shows Word and Excel side by side on the.
Well, you remember when they introduced the iPad Pro last, October, November? They had Microsoft out there on stage with them, showing it off.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
I mean, it makes perfect sense.
PowerPoint works really well with it. I haven't done a lot of presentations, but I really like the fact that I can have my sermon in Word next to PowerPoint or Keynote, for that matter, in the dual screen, and show the Keynote presentation or the PowerPoint presentation on the projector for my Wednesday night. So it's pretty nice. Anything else? What are you guys most excited about? Just quickly going around the horn. Antoine?
For the Pro, it's a suitable update. I can see a lot of folks who have maybe a first gen or second gen squeezing their wallet really hard trying to justify not getting the Pro and maybe going for the Air 2 instead. That's dropped down in price $100 or so. But the Pro, especially that lower tier, is a pretty compelling piece of device. The 256 gigabyte version of that. Ooh.
Yeah, but be careful. Don't go overboard with that, because that's, the only people who really need that much storage on an iPad are people who are storing a lot of media.
I need that.
Or Rick. Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, Rick, why are you needing it?
I've edited videos a couple of times, and it's really nice, but the space would be nice. What happens with me when I take pictures, because pictures and video, and a good example of this is last Christmas. I was using an external camera, and so plugging that in, I was pulling everything over into photos on the iPad Pro, and it just, I've got it set to optimize for space and storage, but that takes a while. That if you put enough stuff on there, it takes days for it to finally, upload all those, and you're back to just your thumbnails. And then for editing video as well, I did a crazy thing and edited a video that was over an hour long that I had taken at church from our Christmas production, and I could do that. But I mean, I could use the space, and plus you have to think about, just with the accordance stuff that I do, I like to carry the full accordance library on there too. That by itself is somewhere between 30 and 40 gigabytes, and so that's why I have the 128. I like the 256 now. I'm not going to go out and get the new one, but maybe in 2 or 3 years or something like that. Of course, there may be a 500 by then, but
it's going to be to a terabyte by then.
If they had that extra space back in November when I got mine, I would have gotten the 256 without a doubt.
Amen to that one. So mad I can't return mine.
Why can't you?
2 days.
He's addicted to it now. He can't get rid of it for 2 days.
You can go 2 days without your iPad.
No, I can't, man. I've been killing my deliverables. I don't.
No, Antoine, send it back and get a 9.7 Air 2 and keep that for 2 days, and then take that.
Oh God, no, 9.7 is too small.
He's saying do it for those 2 days so that you've got something to work with. Anyway, if I was in your shoes, I would do it. I would.
Yeah, I think I would too. If I was within the return period, I would do it, Antoine.
Is there anybody here planning, I'm definitely getting one, or, boy, it's going to be really hard for me to resist getting one? Anybody who's that far gone?
I'm really interested in the larger Pro. The smaller Pro is really compelling, and I do like that form factor. But for preaching, I think I'd like the bigger one. But right now, it's just a matter of cost to use. I mean, that's basically spending the bulk of getting a new MacBook Pro to do something that is, for me, at best a 70% device that I can do, and that's extending it. So for me, it's still hard to justify the cost.
Well, you know, I had two people ask me. One asked me in direct messages in Twitter, and another person emailed me if now that this 9.7-inch iPad Pro is out, do I regret getting the bigger one?
Mm-hmm.
And I would guess that 9.7 is probably going to be the one that sells more. But I really like my big one. You know, I wanted a larger iPad, and so I have no regrets getting the larger device.
Anybody though say yes? I really want it. I'm going to go get it, or I'm about 90% sure I'm going to go get it.
I consider getting one for my mother. That's where I am with the Pro, the 9.7.
Okay, La Rosa, how about you?
I thought about it for a good bit yesterday, but I decided that it's just large enough to where it really doesn't fit me because I've got the Mini 4, and the Mini 4 is like the perfect size for me.
Okay.
And I like the 12.9 one, but I can't bring myself to buy it only because I've got a laptop right now, and it requires replacing some other things first.
Well, let's take that to you know. Do you have any complaints about what you saw? Is there anything you'd say, boy, I wish it had this? And for me, I would say, I think it's great. I love the idea. Please, sometime soon, give us a Mini with pencil support. That's all I would say at this point.
Yes.
Even if it was just the iPad Mini 4, exactly the way it is today, no other improvements. All you do is put that display with the pencil support. I would be perfectly happy. Use the same, you know, maybe they can't do the processor, maybe they'd have to do it, but that's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't like about the iPad Pro that they announced yesterday was only putting the 2 gig of RAM in there. Yeah,
that might have an issue. I don't know. We'll see.
Here, you know, and here's another issue, and this is a flaw with both of the iPad Pros, and I'm guessing that Antoine will agree with me on here. The camera is over here on the side. And you know they're selling these keyboards with them now. That camera ought to be up here at the top.
Yeah.
That would just make sense. And if you've ever used it like this, you kind of have to be over here at the side.
I almost agree with you, Rick. Almost. I was reading about this earlier today, and I did a video for Mobile Ministry Magazine last night from my Mini, and I was like, the camera's to the side.
And I watched that.
You know, the thing that I guess I've had to train myself to respect the way that the machine is designed, but I just shift the device over.
And I've done that.
You know,
and not only that,
but I'd still, and La Rosa will tell you, I prefer portrait videos to landscape. So I find it's almost in the perfect place. Yeah, I know, guys.
But you know,
I bet you like McDonald's instead of real steak too.
Here's the thing, though. You know, here it is on their keyboard. It's sitting on it's sitting on this keyboard stand in a sense, and it makes no sense to have that over here on the side.
There's another thing about it though, Rick, that I don't, and I doubt that Apple did this on purpose, but because of where the picture is on the screen, the way the camera is set up, you essentially end up with the cue card trick. To where if I'm looking at the screen, it looks like I'm looking at the camera, and so it actually would look like I'm looking at your eye instead of looking up at the thing. Now I doubt they did that on purpose.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's a nice side effect of what they're doing because the camera is at the same level of where you're looking, so it creates the illusion that you're looking at the person in the eye. That's a studio trick when you have a teleprompter that you can't put in front of the lens. If you stick it at the same level next to the camera, I can be looking at that all day long, and people are going to think I'm looking right at the camera.
Well, the other aspect too is it's an engineering. It will be an engineering change because that camera's been there since the iPad 2. The first iPad didn't have a camera, I think.
Correct.
So that's been there since the iPad 2, and you know, and when I feel like that when I took it off the stand, I feel like when the iPads first came out, this was kind of the default orientation, and so that's why that was up there. But I've used mine like this for years, you know. Yeah, I mean previous.
And with the Pro, it's almost exclusively in landscape for me.
Yeah, I found
Yeah.
that. Now that I found, I do use my Pro in landscape more often than
Yeah,
not.
even
But
when
I
I'm
also
hand
use them
holding
side
it.
by side.
Except when I'm in Comixology.
Yeah, texture, when I read magazines in texture. Hey, this is another thing I think that might be worth noting, and that is now the baseline price for Apple's best iPad is $100 more.
Yeah.
And I think that's a direct result of the failure of Android tablets. There are no good Android tablets out on the market. Samsung is close. Their S2 is a beautiful tablet as far as the screen, but there's still too many trade-offs.
Well, and a lot of that has to do with apps too.
Well, actually, the apps are pretty good now. I don't think that's as big an issue. I think,
but I think that
build quality isn't as good.
I think the
And-
Apple App Store has a stronger selection of iPad iPad specific apps than what you'll find with Android.
Yeah, but I think for the average person, that's not an issue for most people. But the quality of even the very best Android tablet, which I think is the SE or the S2, I think is what it's called by Samsung, is about 70% of the quality of an iPad as far as build quality.
Too with Android is you have so many different tablet sizes. So, like we have this problem with Olive Tree, where like we were working on a project, like the iOS update came out yesterday, so I can talk about it. But the first run screen for the NIV and NKJV giveaway, we were having to create so many different assets for Android because of all the different screen sizes that it was ridiculous.
And Android doesn't have the same type of specs to be like just develop it this way and it'll
Honestly,
go
guys,
anywhere.
I don't think the iPad Pro, the smaller one, is even a competitor to Android tablets. I mean, Apple even said during the thing, this is the tablet to replace your PC.
Yeah.
I think they position the Mini and the Air are your I'm good enough to beat your Android tablets up and down the wall, but the Pro replaces your PC. The Pro is what you get your parents to replace their aging desktop.
I actually had a conversation yesterday with a coworker after this announcement, and I said that I would seriously consider just iPad Pro, but I can't do it yet because I still need iTunes. And as soon as Apple creates iTunes and song management on the iPad, then I can mostly get rid of a computer.
What are you doing in iTunes, Rosa?
Yeah, seriously, I don't know.
I hardly go into it.
iTunes.
I buy so much indie music, that's the only way I can upload
Well, I do
it.
too, but you can buy it in
manage it on
iTunes on the iPad.
No, but I'm saying it's not available in iTunes.
Oh, so you're ripping CDs?
I'm ripping CDs, or I'm just downloading from other
Or
sites.
downloading, okay.
Yeah, but you can manage. I mean, LaRosa, you can manage that anything. Like my favorite thing, if I get to it today, like I have a music server on that I just play through my through the app on my phone or on my iPad.
Yeah, but I want everything uploaded to iTunes Match.
Well, that's
that's
the way he wants to
that.
work, and if that's the way he wants to work and he's comfortable with it and he can't do it, then that's going to be a hamper. I think another interesting competitor is this, and that is the Surface 3 is the same basic size, and you can install regular software on it, and it's still $100 less for the basic model of it. Now, it doesn't have as much storage, but I think for the average ordinary person, this is enough. And it's a really nice tablet. And if you're coming from Windows and you're standing at the Best Buy and you say, I want a tablet like an iPad, and they show you $600 versus $500, a lot of people might come out with the $500 one. I know I'm talking to 4 people who are now all in on Apple, but I think for people who aren't all in on Apple, this is actually a real compelling thing. And so I kind of would like to see some Android competition just to drive down prices of Apple, because I think that's where we're headed.
I almost bought the Surface 3 when it came out until I saw the type of memory it was using.
Well, what do you mean the type of memory?
For the hard drive, they were using MMC instead of SSD.
Well, yeah, but it didn't affect its performance that much.
Yeah,
I had one and then sold it.
And I had
the Surface Pro 4, and it didn't.
It's really interesting. My son does not like his Surface 3.
Yeah.
He fought to get that and fought to get that and fought to get that, and he uses the pen to take some notes, and I've got him using it to annotate PDFs from, like, if he downloads pages from his school books, which is really good. But he could have done that on an iPad Pro, I guess.
He did it on Kindle.
Right. It just hasn't captured his imagination. When I go in, he's actually using, like, an old Android tablet to watch YouTube and things like that. Like, he just does, the Surface is not his go-to portable.
And you know, the message they keep hammering, you know, they did this last year too, was, you know, they talk about the iPad being their vision of what the future of computing is like.
And he came right out and said that.
Yeah, they said it twice on Monday, but they've said it before, and we talked about it, I think, last time they said that. But the other, you know, when they position the iPad against, you know, they talk about people upgrading from Windows. Truth be told, and I'm not the first person to say this, but a lot of these arguments could be made for Macs too. You know, there are still things that I require a computer for. But I still, you know, I would still say, and I've said this for a while, I think for many general users, people who are using email and surfing the web and a few basic applications, especially now that you've got Office, an iPad would do it. You know, you could get by with just an iPad, especially if you attach a keyboard or use a Bluetooth keyboard with it. That's all the computer that some people need, and I know people who that's all. Besides Antoine, I know people who are doing just that.
Yeah, and you have to factor into, like, being, for the most part, the people that are talking on this Hangout right now, we're all kind of on the fringe of technology. So we have other uses outside of what normal people use a computer for.
Yeah.
Well, let's go. Let's move on, because that's not the only thing they talked about. The next thing was the iPhone SE. And what is an iPhone SE, Wes?
It's an iPhone 6S and an iPhone 5 body with the iPhone 5 Touch ID.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's almost it.
And a better camera. Well, I say it's got the iPhone 6 camera, doesn't it?
Well, first of all, it's the screen size that's the big change, and lots of people love their 4-inch iPhones, and they said, "I'm not upgrading. You can take my 4-inch iPhone out of my cold dead fingers." And so Apple couldn't get any of those people. Sure, the 6S and the 6S, the 6 and the 6 Plus, and then the next generation, the 6S and 6S Plus, drove a very large number of iPhone sales, because there were lots of people like me who was saying, you know, I can't stand this tiny little iPhone screen anymore, and that's why I was using Android exclusively almost during that period of time. So the nice big screen and beautiful, you know, the resolution is really nice, 326 pixels per inch, which is, you know, better than your eyes can see. And so, you know, that's the biggest thing. I think the other thing you mentioned, you know, the size of it and the design, it goes back to the old design, right?
The same cases fit. Same cases fit, so you don't have to replace any of those. You get the same Touch ID. You get a better rear camera. I mean, it's a win-win for anybody who wants to keep that size. And I know for me, I'm hand down. I'm sold already.
Hey, what impressed me about it is that they weren't giving a lesser phone. You think about, like, when the iPhone 5C came out, that was truly a lesser phone. It's a smaller phone, but it's still it's at the same generation as the current iPhone 6S and 6S Plus. You know, I was surprised, but I was also very impressed that they put the same camera in there that would do 4K video. That was really surprising.
No,
the features are basically the same.
Yeah.
How many people really are locked on that size screen?
Dude.
How many?
Women.
Oh, lots.
Women.
Yeah, but I'll tell you right now, my wife, when I got my 6S Plus, she looked at that and laughed because she thought it was the most ridiculous thing ever. And then she used it for an hour. And before Christmas, I went out and got her a 6S Plus with that rose gold because she got hooked on that screen size. And now when we go back to the 4.7 inch, we're like, holy crap, this is a baby phone.
Antoine, go ahead and take this. I know you're the one who.
Yeah, no, I like in contrast to that, my mother, when she saw the 6S Plus, she freaked out because she knew instantly that that'll be dropped within 2 weeks of having it, and per her MO, she drops phones often. The 4-inch iPhone, the one for smaller hands is hands down. Me personally, I don't think a phone should take up a lot of space in your pocket, and I love the idea of that's why I have a 5S now. That's just gold. And then the 4S, I mean, they sold 30 million of them. I mean, what Android make would be a model of a 4-year-old phone? Really? Internals with and use the same old body with a little bit of tightening of the colors, and poof, yeah. I mean, they're going to make a mint off of this.
But it's not costing anything, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the nice thing too is there's finally a legitimate budget iPhone. I mean, gig bucks, no contract, and it's a top of the line phone. It's just as good as a top off contract Android phone that you're going to get these days, just at a smaller form factor.
Yeah.
Shoot, I mean, what do you? If I'm Apple, and I know they thought this, but the SE, sorry, I was about to call it the 5SE. The SE very much cannibalizes the 6S. Very much. I mean, it
will for a lot of people.
Smaller body, And if my brain is working the way it should, I'm wondering if Apple's iPhone 7 is a very large leap. I mean, kind of like that leap that we saw when the Pro was initially announced from the regular iPads. We were like, whoa, they jumped like 2 generations in processors and blah, 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 blah. I wonder if the 7 is going to be that much of a leap because, I mean, you really have a 6S in your hand with the SE right now, and that's pretty darn impressive. I mean, engineering-wise as well as cost-wise, that's just it's going to go another 4 years easy.
Yeah, I think this is. You're right, Antoine. This is going to be a phone that a lot of people will want. I don't think it's as many now as it was 2 years ago when people were complaining about the upgrade. I think more people got used to the idea of the larger phone. I know my wife. We're on T-Mobile, so we can jump 3 times, and she hasn't used even one of hers yet. Whereas all the other 3 of us in the family have used it. Some of us twice. And I thought, well, maybe she'd rather have this because she was one of the people saying, "Oh, I like my old iPhone. I want to keep it." And I said, "Well, get this one. You'll like it." And she liked it. The 6S is what she has. And so I kind of thought that she might want to go back to this. And when I told her, she was like, "No, I like the one I got now." So in other words, I think there are a lot of people who have gotten used to it, sort of like many of us did when they first started going large. But I still think they're going to sell a bunch of these.
And the funny thing too is I'm just sitting here thinking about it, and like Antoine and I, we like to ride our bikes quite a bit, and I'm thinking this iPhone 6S Plus, because I had the Note 4 and the Note 5 and the Note 3, and all of those were a pain to either try to put in a pocket or to find a case for that looked nice on my bike. Whereas something like the SE is smaller, easy to fit into a pocket. And so it's like I'm legitimately thinking, like, I might buy this just to have as a second phone. Just pop out the SIM and throw it in that one and keep on going.
Well, that's something interesting because going back to the iPad, it doesn't have a SIM anymore. The SIM is inbuilt. You can't switch it. The iPad Pro. And so, are we going in that direction? It's not that way with the phones yet.
I bet it will be this fall.
It will be.
Yeah.
I won't like that. I'll be very disappointed if that happens.
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't like that.
Yeah, on a phone, that'll make me very unhappy.
No, I mean you go into your SIM settings on the phone or your cellular menu on the phone, and you just choose another carrier when you want to.
It's still a universal SIM.
Carrier.
Yeah, still a universal SIM.
Yeah, but that's not the point. I've got 2 phones, and
you won't be able to switch back and forth. Yeah.
I don't have to go to T-Mobile and say, hey, will you swap this for us, and go through an hour's long.
You can't go get a prepaid phone, SIM when you're over.
Well, I think at that point, that's when they'll just do kind of like AT&T has done with like their watches, like with the Urbane or whatever it is, where you're just using the same number across all your devices. So if you have multiple phones, then you just have the same phone number, and whichever one.
That's normal now. Yeah, that's.
I mean, that's cool. I'm still worried about going over into and if I would just want to go get a prepaid phone if I'm traveling, or a prepaid SIM and drop it in. Now you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Or the process becomes much more convoluted.
Well, for like if you want to go into somewhere else and do a prepaid, essentially what you do is you go through the SIM menu, the eSIM menu that shows you all of the carriers for the particular region you're in. You choose that carrier. And then on kind of like a smaller browser screen, you choose whatever plan that you're doing. So it's the same thing, but it's just it's intermediated on the device without you necessarily having to go into the store to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, but then how do you?
It's different.
It's different, but it's a little more convoluted when you go back, and I have to now reactivate it on my old network. Does it store the SIM settings?
Yeah, you have to go turn it off.
Yeah,
you have to just go back and turn it off.
You say you're going to go buy one, right? Is that right? You're planning to upgrade to this?
Yeah, I'm getting the SE.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't think any of the rest of us are, right?
I'm considering it as a second phone.
If Apple were to make a larger phone, I would want that.
Yeah, if they had an iPad Mini that was a phone, that's what I would.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, in fact, I would jump on that
my
tomorrow.
cold dead fingers. I love this thing, and you're never taking it away from me.
Yeah, if they made the iPhone 6s Plus with an 8.9-inch screen, I'm on it. I'll buy it tomorrow.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
No, I'm good with this.
I'm not sure what pocket I'll put it in. But it'll go in the cargo pants.
I won't need a pocket. I'll just carry it around and have a Bluetooth headset.
Well, that's what you do. That's exactly.
24/7,
Yeah, because you don't want to put the whole iPad up to your head.
You need a vest that has the tablet pocket.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, about that.
I have a jacket that has two inside pocket. One fits a phone, and the other one is for bigger stuff. And my iPad Pro almost fits in it.
Antoine looks like he's about to have a heart attack listening to this conversation.
Yeah. How about the Apple TV update? I mean, just there's new software. You can put things in folders, and now you can talk and enter your stuff by that.
Hey,
does anybody here have one besides me? And
yeah. And this was so cool. Yesterday, you remember the pain that we went through setting up the new Apple TV with all the passwords.
Yeah.
Well, there was an app I installed, and I gave the password, and I just called out the password, capital letters, lowercase, numbers. I said the wrong thing. I said backspace. It backed up. I even had a colon in there, and I said colon, and it worked. And I thought, now that's wonderful. Of course, it's probably been even easier to use a Bluetooth keyboard, but
that will be wonderful.
Yeah, or can't you just use the remote app and paste in the stuff from like 1Password?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
It's not always convenient to do that. To be quite honest with you. All right. How about Apple Watch?
It's really an NSA plot to get all our passwords.
I'm sure. They want to hear us saying them. While
Apple
I'm saying
Watch.
it from my Apple TV, it's my Xbox recording it.
Let's move on, guys. Apple Watch. Who has an Apple Watch?
Right here. I put on my red band.
Half of us.
Okay. Wes, you don't have one yet, right?
I do not have one.
Okay.
I am getting more tempted, but I'm still not there.
New bands. Anybody excited about those?
They're cool, but I'm not excited. They do not have Eagles green or Bavarian green. That's what I requested. It's not there.
Going third party, man.
Well, yeah,
it's not there either.
I had the
one.
You're not getting Eagles green, Antoine. Nike can't even get it right.
I bought the blue leather loop, after I had my iPhone, and I really like it, but it's pricey. And so my wife got me this third party knockoff. It's a red just like the leather loop, and I would say it's 95% of the quality. I mean, that magnet even works just like the regular leather loop, but this was a fifth of the price.
It looks comfortable.
Theirs.
I got a knockoff Milanese loop that's black, like the new one with Apple, and it's I got beefy wrists, and it doesn't fit. So.
Yeah.
What do you guys like
I've been
about the app?
looking at the gold Milanese flute. There's one on Amazon that's a pretty nice one. But that's actually the hardest issue I have with the bands. All of the bands that they came out with have the silver accents to them, not the gold accent. And that's
What about these? These have gold.
With my band.
Look here. Gold, blue,
yeah,
pink,
sure do.
white, blue, black, silver.
I didn't see that page.
Dun, dun, dun.
I guess all the nice ones only have silver,
Antoine.
right?
Right.
Antoine's birthday's in 2 weeks, y'all. Contribute to the new band fund.
So now that I know what wrist I should be wearing a watch on, I'm actually interested in picking one up.
Explain what you're talking about.
I can't believe you're as old as you are and you just learned that.
43 years old, I never realized I was supposed to be wearing the watch on the non-dominant wrist. And,
No wonder they've never worked for you.
Well, yeah, because all you dumb right-handers kept on looking at where I had the watch going, yeah, that's the right one. So thanks a lot.
When did you ever ask me that? I don't think I... No, I was a little disappointed we didn't get a significant software upgrade, but that'll come probably in June, right?
I was actually expecting another version.
Hold on, Kevin. No, Kev, there was actually something significant in that update, though.
What was it?
A lot of folks missed it. You can actually sync more than one Apple Watch to
Yes.
an iPhone device.
Yeah.
That is very significant.
So if you're rich or crazy enough to have more than one,
yeah.
there you go.
But I'm running today, so I'm going to wear the sport.
Well,
I changed the band when I'm going to exercise. Or whatever.
Well, since this is a podcast about Christian tech enthusiasts, most of whom are ministers, none of us will care about that issue.
Yeah.
Well, no, we can't afford more than one. And probably shouldn't have bought the one we got.
I disagree. I've actually seen more kids with it. I've seen more kids with the Apple Watch than not. And as I watched them run around Target tonight with an Apple Watch and going, how could you afford that? I really do see the ability to use an Apple Watch as a leash of sorts.
It's called wealthy parents. That's how they.
It only seems.
What kids are you seeing an Apple Watch?
Man,
the children who will be growing up
really
getting high on drugs because they don't have any kind of. Anyway, I won't get into all that. iOS 9.3, Rick, you've been using it a while. Like I have. What are you excited about there that's coming new?
I don't remember what's new in it. We talked about the settings for the screen, the night shift. What else is new in it?
I think the biggest thing that I appreciate now is I'm actually one of the few people that uses iBooks because I was a big Google Play Books user when I was on Android, and so I'm going to use the native apps as much as I can. And now I don't have to worry about downloading an EPUB manually to both my phone and to my iPad.
Yes, I like that.
I would sync through iCloud.
Yes. You know what was weird is when you used to manually upload it, if you put it in your Mac library and on your phone library and your iPad library and said sync, then it would sync the notes.
Yep.
But it wouldn't sync the actual books.
Yep.
It used to drive me nuts. Like, why isn't it doing this? So
I'm so
glad
ridiculous.
they do that now. So,
new in iOS, we have a few things. The night shift we've already talked about because it's on the new iPad. The Notes password protection. The health stuff that got lumped in. We'll let you talk about that in a minute, Antoine, because you wanted to. News has an update. Does anybody use the News app?
It's a lot better than it was.
Okay.
I check it and compare it to Flipboard.
Is supposed to get some love. I don't have a CarPlay car and don't plan to have one anytime soon, and nor am I going to spend $500 or $800 or $1,200 on a stereo for it. Let's see here. The education preview, which that might get interesting for people like my wife whose school centers on iPads. But I don't see anything else that's really all that significant. Like you, Rick, I've had it for so long I can't remember what's new.
On the iPad, what's one thing that's new is if you do if you've got a keyboard connected and you do a spotlight search, you can now use your arrow keys to go down to the results. Does that make sense?
Did I say that again?
Okay, so before, like the keyboard combination for a spotlight search is Command Space Bar, and so you could type something in there, but you still had to touch it with your hands. Now you can actually keep your hands on the keyboard, use the arrow keys to go down to it.
Okay.
I wasn't going to put it on my back when it was in beta. I wasn't going to put it on my iPad until I read about that, and that's the main reason I put it on my iPad as well as my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the Notes app, but I'm trying to figure out how I can use it in conjunction with Evernote because I'm a big Evernote user.
I think it's either or. I don't know why you'd want to use both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we lost Antoine. He wanted to talk about the health care
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean,
They've got some new
I
stuff
probably would if
there.
I probably would go full in with Notes if I had a Mac, computer.
Well, you're working on that.
With a Windows user, it makes it more convenient to stick with Evernote.
Yeah, I like Evernote. We talked about a couple of weeks ago that OneNote converter, and I actually did that. I converted my notes, and fortunately I could keep them, the old ones in Evernote. But OneNote is just so much slower to load content that I don't have the patience with it.
Yeah, it's just not as good. Well, okay, that's not right. It's a poor
advantages.
comparison. It's not a very good app. That's what I'll say.
That's probably
Whether it's
what
better
it is.
or worse than Evernote, I don't know, or Notes on iOS and Mac, I don't know. It's just not a very good app. I just don't like. I hate OneNote, so
Yeah.
I just can't. I've tried very hard to use it in the past, and I just can't.
I'm not against it, but just like I'm not against Apple Notes, I just find that I get more use out of Evernote.
Well,
Yeah,
of all the things that we've talked about tonight, guys, what stands out as something that will benefit people like us, in ministry, doing ministry, Bible study, writing sermons, working in church work, Christians, lay people? What do you think? Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
I would go ahead, Larson.
Honestly, the biggest thing is going to be the iPhone SE because it puts the iPhone in a very affordable spot. And I'm thinking of a lot of ministers, especially those who are using, people using our app, Olive Tree's app, and they go a long time without upgrading their devices. So for them to be able to upgrade to something that's affordable and has basically brand new specs as far as the current generation phones, I think that's going to be a real win for a lot of people in ministry, especially those who are traveling.
Yeah, and I was going to suggest even the new iPad Pro. One thing I like about the iPad Pro is to be, I teach. Of course, I've got the larger one, but I teach from it at church. I carry it with me into meetings. I mean, that's my first choice device. If I can get away with using it, that's what I use. And so it's according to which size you prefer. But, again, to just be able to take that to have more functionality than what you've had in the past with it, I think that's going to help a lot of people.
I agree. Antoine, welcome back. We're talking about, of all the things Apple announced, what will be the most significant for people like us in ministry or in church life or Christians, lay people, ministers? What do you think?
Care Kit.
Why?
And it's I know it's not a product announcement, but the ability that Apple seems to have kind of coalesced in turning our like of holding a mobile device, carrying a mobile device, and turning that into actionable things that doctors and counselors can use, actionable data that they can actually use to not just bucket people into containers of, hey, you're sick, to the work. One of the application studies that they did showed that because of the amount of data that they were able to pull through ResearchKit, they found several variations of type 2 diabetes that had never been seen before. There was theoretical, but they had never seen it before. And I mean, just think of all the people that can be helped because they're willingly participating in a study. I think the number was something like 100,000 people signed up the first year that they announced ResearchKit, and now they have this care kit, this aftercare kit for postpartum depression and post rehab and post diabetes diagnosis and
Parkinson studies. I mean, that kind of stuff takes what we in the church would really deem as, psychiatric helps ministry, and really empowers us to make science actually work for God.
And so now we need a pastoral care kit.
I mean, literally.
There you go.
That to me, I like devices and all of that good fun stuff, but the health kick has been really important to me, and just seeing the strides Apple's making there, I love that I love.
Okay, well, I think anybody else before we put an exclamation point on Apple?
No, I think LaRosa swayed me. I think that SE, for thinking about the ministers that I am working with around here and how many of them have like ancient Android devices and don't know how to use them because they're scared of them because they're ancient Android devices. Man, getting them on that iPhone SE would, if nothing else, just increase the ability to communicate with people.
Yeah.
Which would be nice.
All right. Well, let's move on. We have about 10 minutes at the end here, and who wants to show off your favorite thing first?
Go ahead, Rick.
Okay. I'm wearing my Superman shirt here tonight because I picked a side. The movie's coming out this week. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I even had my Superman mug here tonight, which I've had before. But I was telling you guys before we started that I've been waiting for this movie since I was 5 years old. It's really cool what the Marvel
Rick,
movies.
Are you still talking?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I was watching the trailer.
Oh, you're watching the trailer. The Marvel movies have done a great job about bringing all the characters together instead of having just one solo movie after another. DC has not done that as well, and but they've always been together in the comic books. So
DC
I've been waiting
done it at all.
Yeah, I know. So I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this since I first saw these characters in a comic book. So I'm really excited. That's my favorite thing this week.
And it hasn't even come out yet.
I know, but people who have seen it have liked it, so I'm assuming I will.
So it's gotten good previews. Okay, cool.
Well, as far along those lines, the thing I'm most interested in is, hey, Superman won this weekend.
Ah.
If you're a NASCAR fan, I know no one else in the world is, who is on this podcast anyway. But hey, I live in North Carolina. I have to like NASCAR. You don't get into the state unless you at least lie about it. How did you get in here if you don't like NASCAR anymore, Antoine?
They let me in.
And I worked at Lowe's for 8 months too. How about that?
Yeah, how about that? All right, who's next?
I'll go if you want to put mine up.
All right.
So I picked this up for my birthday because if folks have been watching the podcast for a long time, I've been very interested in trying to create my own cloud, and I converted my Raspberry Pi to an own cloud server even a long time ago, and it was just a little bit too slow, and I've been looking for ways to increase my productivity and my cloud storage, and so I went with this for a birthday present, which is the Western Digital My Cloud Server. I compromised on space and got the 4 terabyte option. It does have a USB 3 port in the back, which is really, really cool. And I can set up users and set it up almost like a Dropbox if I ever want to work with a team and create like a shared folder and things like that. So there is a lot that is going for it. One of the big things for me on any cloud storage service is that I want to be able to mount my device as a network share rather than just have like a shared folder, especially because I'm on a limited storage on my MacBook Pro. This handles that perfectly, and I have really, really, really enjoyed getting to use it. It also has a DNLA server, so I took that Raspberry Pi and converted it to a Kodi server, which is XBMC, and so now all my movies are on my Western Digital My Cloud device, and I play them on my TV downstairs.
Nice.
So does it have RAID?
It's a single bay, so it's not RAID, so there is no backup. So
Okay.
basically I'd be using that USB 3 port right now for the backups of the drive in there.
Okay, so you plug in a USB drive to back up your backup. So
Yeah, but I can also I can take the backup out and then put in my storage again and expand
it's user
storage.
accessible. The drive inside is.
You know what? I don't know.
Okay.
No.
So you're saying take out the backup drive.
There's a 2-bay diskless one that's like 160 right now that is RAID, and I almost picked that up, but I didn't have the funds to go out and get 2 big hard drives to
Yeah, I
fit,
accidentally
so.
had the dual drive one selected instead of the single drive, which is what you have.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a nice device. It's kind of an introduction for me, and we'll see where it goes. You can. If I have another one, I can throw it remotely and I can sync them. So it almost acts like a file transporter in that respect.
It's like you can get a used one for $142 and get all the that person's personal stuff off of it.
There you go. So I kind of like the feature, and I actually might try to pick another one of these up and stick it in my office so that I can keep them just in sync, and then I'll have an offsite backup.
Who's next? Or you guys anybody have any questions?
I might have to buy one of those.
Okay.
It's nice.
Who's next?
My favorite thing, I just shot the link in our Slack channel, but I guess I can call it a favorite thing. It's more like it's been a long time coming. A couple years ago, I was telling a friend of mine that I wanted to get a road bike because I want to do some charity rides. I want to just kind of build my body up so I can start doing some charity rides. There's some really good efforts out there to raise money for various causes, and I just wanted to be a part of that with something I like to do. And this year, and coming back to Maryland, the office and team that I work on, they actually do the American Disabilities Association ride in Maryland. That's going to be happening on May the 7th. And so I jumped up and said, "Ooh, I bike," and they said, "Ooh, come join the team." So I'm jumped up on there, and that's literally my favorite thing right now.
Halfway there.
Yeah, definitely got some good support so far, and I've got some grandparents and aunts and uncles who all suffer from diabetes, and the rest of the family that suffers from those who suffer from diabetes, and for all of those things that are preventative, those cancers and conditions that can be largely preventative, I think diabetes probably could be more preventative if folks, had some better options for food and exercise and things of that sort. And so the ADA, it goes down every path you can think of when it comes to diabetes management and resourcing. And so this is something that, like I said, I mentioned about the health stuff earlier that Apple's doing. This pulls at my heartstrings pretty big. And so if you want to support, I've got the link up on Twitter. I will literally be tweeting it every day until I get on that bike for that ride.
We'll put it in the show notes over on Theotek.com too.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
No, Mike, that's really cool and fun.
All right, next.
Yeah, my favorite thing is, I put the link in chat, is the polar balance scale. I'm a big polar user. And so, I've been start off with Antoine after he convinced me to get the Polar Loop, and then I've since upgraded to the M400, and now I've got their top of the line V800 GPS triathlete watch, and so I've got sensors on my bike, and I had a third-party scales from a company called Weight Gurus that I use just kind of check my weight and everything. But it didn't connect to anything. It didn't connect to any third-party apps or anything like that. So when Polar announced this, December, January sometime, I was like, I need to buy this. And so I bought it as soon as I could. Was disappointed when I first got it because they hadn't really updated their iOS app yet. So I got it had it for the first month or two, and just used it. Syncs with, I just do the sync button on my watch, it syncs it, and then it syncs the app and everything. But the nice thing is they just yesterday Apple, so I keep track of all my health there and everything too. And I'm also a MyFitnessPal user, which I've been using to try to track my weight loss and all the food I'm consuming. And so now I've got all three syncing with one another, which is really nice. so there's no more manual input of having to put my weight in.
Nice.
Cool. So I think you said this. I was trying to do something, but it interacts with your watch as well. That's all connected in together? Is that right or not?
Yeah. So like I've got my watch on my wrist, staying on the scale. It shows the weight. I just push the sync button on my watch, and it captures the weight. And then the next time I sync the watch to my to the app, it connects all that and syncs it to the cloud and everything else.
You were pointing to some, Antoine?
Same thing, polar loop.
Okay.
That's
so
what
you got the polar loop.
I've got
put your watch up again, LaRosa. So you've got the full watch.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get it straight. I know you're on a camera and it's backwards in your brain. All right, cool. Any questions?
No.
How does that scale compare to like the Y things? I've got the Y thing scale.
That one does a little bit more. This one only does weight. It doesn't do like body fat or anything else.
Yeah, mine does body fat and
The
BMI and all that.
Yeah, the Withings and the Fitbit scale add the body fat in there, and then there's a Weight Watchers one that also does. Oh God, there's another measurement they do that's in there that for the Weight Watchers scale, but the Polar one it really aims to get you on so you can see your trends more so than tell you that you're great and not great.
All right, cool.
Wild.
Does that make me next, I guess?
Go ahead, Kev.
All right. Here is the best smartphone available today.
Now, haven't you already talked about this, Kevin?
I think I might have mentioned it before. I couldn't remember if I asked you guys and you guys.
I'm teasing you. I said we need a 3-week update.
Well, I think the thing is, it's fast for one thing. It's just super fast, and it's got a beautiful, beautiful screen. I mean, it's just it's really bright and very color rich. The camera is significantly better than anything I've ever used before, except maybe the iPhone 6s Plus. They're comparable, but it still is better, especially low light pictures look better on it. The other thing I really like is it feels good when you're holding it, and the edge technology that they have, it has that sort of rounded edge. A lot of people don't like that, but I think that's because they're like trying to grip their phone harder than they really should be. I've gotten very used to holding it in a way where it just kind of rests on my hand now.
Just tell them you're holding it wrong.
They're holding it wrong. That's exactly
it. You disliked the Edge, the first model Edge, right, Kevin?
Well, it's not that I disliked the Edge. I thought that the Edge apps were useless.
Okay.
Yeah, they had the little icons on the side.
Yeah, and this one does too, but they work better, and there are better apps available.
They improved it. Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
I can pull it up and show you if I can get it to work. Now it's going to make me a liar. It usually works without any trouble, except when I'm trying to demo it. But it's got these shortcut apps, and I'm streaming. My wife is streaming a basketball game, and I'm streaming here, and so it's not doing so well.
Nice.
But it's very nice. Got lots of shortcuts.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing. I live in the rural area. Almost nobody takes Apple Pay. Almost nobody. Okay. Mm-hmm. So today I was actually able to, because I went into a McDonald's and got a drink because it's right near my wife's school, and I sat for an hour with my iPad and drank a Diet Coke. Mm-hmm. It's the first time I've ever been able to use my Apple Pay anywhere in this area on my watch. However, the Samsung, you slide up from the bottom, it shows your credit card, and you put your finger on the thumbprint reader, which is perfect. It works every time, just about. I mean, no thumbprint reader works literally every time, but it seldom ever fails. Okay. And you hold it, where you swipe your card on the machine? Mm-hmm. Just hold the phone next to it, and the machine reads it, even if it's not Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or Google Pay enabled. It just works, and it works on almost every machine. So I've been doing Samsung Pay.
Regular vanilla NFC, or what's it doing?
It's using Loop Pay technology.
Okay.
And it just works. And so I've actually been able to use my phone to buy things. The last few days, I finally took the time to set it up. And you have to call your bank. Not every bank will make you do this, but mine does. And they ask you all kind of, what's the last payment that you made on your credit card, and what's the last thing you bought, how much was it? And so you got to go and look through all your account information because I don't remember that stuff. But anyway, it once I got it working, it's just really nice. So I'm very pleased with it. It's running the latest version of Android.
Yeah, basically what it does is it emulates the magnetic field that your card does when you swipe it.
And so I'm pleased with it. And of course I got it on T-Mobile, and so that means that I pre-ordered it, and so I've got a year's worth of Netflix free coming, and I've got a Gear VR coming. Hopefully, it'll work out. In about 4 to 6 weeks. So when I do get that, I'll let you know how cool that is, whether it makes me throw up or not, like a lot of people. And I got the gold version of it, so I think, and it's a beautiful phone. It just kind of looks really pretty.
Interesting.
So I'm very pleased with it. And the other thing I was going to say was when you hold it, even though this feels much smaller than the iPhone,
it's not. Right?
You know, I mean, look at. It's hard for me to show you.
Yeah, it's very comparable, but it is narrower.
It's smaller. It feels much smaller in your hand.
Okay.
And the screen, however, is not. It doesn't seem like you're using a really small screen phone. Probably because of that edge technology, sort of fooling you a little bit.
Yeah.
So my son got the non-edge. He just picked it up. We just let him upgrade yesterday with the jump, and the non-edge is half an inch smaller screen and it has a little bit smaller battery life. Oh, the battery life is great on this thing.
Cool.
Well, this isn't totally fair because I put it on my wireless charger mount in my car for about 2 hours today. But on a day when I don't do that, I tried intentionally not putting it on the mount, and the battery lasted all day long. And when I put it on the charger at nighttime at about 11 o'clock, which means 15 hours of heavy usage that day, I had 42% battery life.
Pretty good.
So excellent.
Pretty dang good.
Life. Yeah, very, very good. I'm pleased with it. So I'm very excited. And the only reason I haven't switched my main phone over to it is this guy paid too much money for it, so I'm not going to throw it away. Go ahead. What do you got there?
This is what the book that my church read over Lent. It's a biography of John Newton. And I am a big proponent of church history and biographies and things like that. Everybody knows John Newton is the former slave ship captain who wrote Amazing Grace.
I thought he was the inventor of Fig Newtons.
Yes, absolutely, that too. His story is utterly fascinating, and it's really cool not only from a perspective of seeing the power of grace, but how absolutely different the world was 250 years ago. And not just in terms of the fact that slavery was an accepted institution. The very nature of how they practiced religion was completely different than what we do now. In Newton's time, the idea of writing hymns in English Christianity was novel. It's a completely different world. So if you want a fascinating look at an incredibly changed life and the power of God to change somebody, this is a book to read. If you want an example of just how different the world is from the one we live in, from where it was 250 years, and the Holy Spirit's been working, excellent book to read. Go ahead and pick that up.
I just did.
There you go.
I got an Audible version of it because I have 3 Audible credits, now 2.
Cool.
I've been looking for something. I honestly have been thinking, man, I want to find something really good to read, and I love biographies.
Well, if you read this, it's almost like the spiritual sequel. Grab William Wilberforce's biography.
Oh, yes, that would be excellent. Amazing Grace, the movie. If you're not a reader and you still want to know a little bit about these guys, watch that movie. It's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Is the William Wilberforce, is it by the same author?
No. I forget who wrote the William Wilberforce one. That's it's called William Wilberforce, Hero from Humanity. The book I was just holding up is called John Newton from Disgrace to Amazing Grace. They're spiritual successors. I don't know if most people know it, but William Wilberforce was as a child encountered John Newton and his ministry in Olney, and as an adult, when he was an MP considering leaving politics to join the ministry, it was John Newton who convinced him to stay in the House of Commons and fight for the abolition of the slave trade. And they became friends as adults then. So the pairing of the two stories is really cool.
I added that one to my wish list.
Here you go.
So I will have that in mind the next time I'm looking for one.
Cool.
Yeah, I love Audible. Any of you guys Audible subscribers?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I don't do audiobooks, but one of these days I'll have to try it out.
Well, I like it for biographies and fiction. I don't do it for nonfiction. You know, I want to read those and highlight them and put notes and get ideas for maybe sermon ideas and things like that, or something to share with church members, or a good devotion for my deacons or something like that. But
cool.
All right, well, I think we're done. We're 10 minutes over time, mostly because of my long-winded re-review of the Samsung Galaxy S7. But thank you for being with us. As always, go to Theotek.com or Theotek Podcast on Twitter, and you'll find us there. If you're still into Google+, you can search for us over there. We're on it. And on Facebook, which we don't do a whole lot on Facebook with Theotek, but you can find us there if you want. And we post this, we do it every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. live. So if you're listening to us or watching us at a later date on YouTube, please subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, subscribe in your favorite podcasting app. But if you want to watch it live, come join us. Feel free to send us email. Probably the easiest way to do that is kevin@kevinpurcell.org or kevin@theotek.com will get to me and let me know some things. We have gotten a few things, and I actually intended this week to mention something that we received, but maybe I'll try to remember that next week. But thanks, guys. Glad you're here. Appreciate you joining us, making this podcast what it is. And we'll see you next week at 9 o'clock again.
See ya.
See ya.